Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Rachel.
And welcome to The Great Adventure. Now, we've been on the road for about 16 months now, and we've been using 1,000 Trails, our 1,000 Trails membership, for a lot of that time. So we thought today would be a really good time to give you guys a 1-year review of 1,000 Trails.
And answer the question, is it worth it? When we first set out on the road, we had heard about 1,000 Trails, but we didn't purchase a membership right away. We kind of heard about it a little bit and didn't think much of it. Maybe we'd look into it later, and we set out. A month into our travels, we attended our first full-time family rally, and they had an info session about 1,000 Trails that we attended, and really got the breakdown of what the different memberships were and how they work and the cost involved. We talked to a lot of families that had memberships, and that was really helpful to get their perspective on it and their thoughts.
So as we do with everything,
Yeah.
we break things down by the numbers.
Yes.
We went back and
We looked at it.
started dissecting, is it really worth it? Do we do just a yearly membership? Do we do the lifetime membership? How much do we actually want to spend on it? And would we actually use it? Because while there are a lot of 1,000 Trails parks, they're not everywhere. Right. So it was really that decision of, is it actually worth it to us from a budgetary standpoint, but then also from just being able to actually use it on a regular basis.
Right. So we looked at the map of where the parks were and looked at the prices and different options. When we did the math, we looked at when it came down to it for what we chose, and we'll explain what we have and all that. If we used it for 30 days, if we stayed 4 weeks within the 1,000 Trail system, it was going to be $28 a night.
And that was for the yearly
yearly
1,000 Trails membership with several of the different
Right, and we'll explain
regions.
later what we've got. But so we looked at it and we're like, $28 a night for full hookups and amenities. That's better than most RV parks.
It's about
that
the
we're
same
finding.
price that you would pay on an average for most campgrounds or RV parks that you stay at.
So that would just be for a month. And if anything, we stayed more than those 4 weeks within the year, would just drop the price lower and lower. In 1 year, we ended up staying 153 nights.
Which is a lot more than 30.
Which is a lot more than 30. And that means we only ended up paying $5.65 a night, which is incredible.
And I'm getting messages on my phone. So the reason we chose the camping pass, the 1-year membership for 1,000 Trails versus the lifetime membership, mainly came down to cost.
Yep.
There is a big difference between what you would pay for the lifetime membership and the yearly fee. And the lifetime membership is technically a misnomer because you have to pay for the membership up front, which can cost up to $5,000 if you buy it new. You can purchase it used as well from a handful of different places, or if you just find somebody who doesn't want their lifetime membership anymore. But you have to pay for that upfront cost, but then you still have to pay the annual dues every year. So it's a lifetime membership that you have to keep paying for the same yearly cost. But there are some benefits to that.
There are, and we'll break that down. There are different levels and different tiers, and I don't know if they keep the same names every year, and so it can get really confusing. We may do a video later on those breakdowns, but they change often, so it's hard to exactly give you the exact details. Yeah. Right now, the most current information that we found was on a blog from the Getaway couple, and we'll link below to that, and that really breaks down each thing.
But the main advantages of the lifetime membership is that unlike the yearly membership where you can go 14 days staying at 1,000 Trails Park, you can stay up to 21 days.
Right.
And then with the lifetime membership, you then don't have the out of park or out of system 1 week time frame that you get. You can go from park to park, which means you can stay up to 21 days and then go to another 1,000 Trails campground or Encore campground and go park to park. And technically, camp for free or for cheaper than you would with the regular year-long pass.
Right. And you also get a larger booking window. So depending on those lifetime membership levels and what you have, you can be able to reserve up to 120 days in advance, or 90 days in advance is typically what most people have. For us, the camping pass, we only have 60 days in advance.
So that's one of the reasons why, I mean, the price is the main reason why we didn't go with the lifetime membership, mainly because our initial goal was to only be on the road for roughly a year. If you are planning on doing a lot more than that and planning on being on the road 2, 3, 4 years,
then the lifetime
it definitely comes into play there. With that initial investment, though, that you have to do, you really have to find a way to justify spending, even if you buy it used, spending $3,700 or so for a used membership.
And I think they offer payment plans for that. It's not like you have to put all of the cash up front. I think you can spread it out over a certain amount of time. But for us, it just didn't make sense. We were 1 month into our travels, and we were not sure if we were going to be on the road for more than a year. So the 1 year pass made the absolute most sense for us.
So explain what we do have now.
It makes me explain it.
She knows all the details of this because I just drive, and she does all the
I do all the planning stuff, and all that. So we have a yearly camping pass. And we got all zones with that. So when you go to the Thousand Trails website, you can see the different, they kind of break up the country by sections. We have all zones, and we have the trails collection, which means we can get into not just Thousand Trails parks, but also Encore. There's just additional parks that are added in. So we paid $865 for that. That was the price we paid, a little over a year ago. The
prices change every year.
They change every year. We also got a special with buying our pass during the Full-Time Family Rally. But they're always, there's usually some sort of special. They change what they are and how they're promoting them. But that's what we paid, $865 for the camping pass with all zones and the trails collection. Yes. So with that, we got the 60-day booking window. Like he explained, we can stay 4 days in a park and keep moving park to park. But anytime we stay over 4 days, we have to be out of the system for 7. Which actually is nice for us because we like to do state parks and that stuff in between. But we can stay up to 14 days. We can stay 2 weeks, and we did that a few times in a few parks. And that's the basics of it.
Yeah, and the main difference is there, again, for the lifetime membership, you can go from park to park, even if you stay up to 21 days, which is one of the benefits of the lifetime membership. And then the longer booking windows. So you being able to book out up to 120 days in advance. And we really didn't have an issue with that. Even with the 60 days, there was only one.
There was one that we weren't quite getting into, and it was peak season. It was winter in Florida. And it was an Encore park, which was mostly full of seasonals. They don't have a lot of the short-term sites available anyway. Yeah. But we ended up getting in, and eventually,
we had to adjust some dates here and there.
Bit, and it was not a big deal. So a lot of people worry about that. Oh, I have to be a lifetime member so I can have the 90-day booking window. But we were okay. I mean, maybe we just traveled at the right time of year. We did hit a lot of parks that were not during peak season. So maybe that's why it worked, but it worked.
Yeah, for the most part, those 90-day or 120-day booking windows work best if you're trying to get into certain campgrounds during peak season, where they're going to be busy. Like if you're looking for specific days for Thousand Trails in Orlando, which is one of the biggest and busiest.
If you're trying to winter in Florida, you might need the.
But during the summer or any other time throughout the year, we didn't find it really being an issue at all. Nope. And then also that going from park to park can be beneficial, but it only depends if you have another park that's nearby that you're going to go to directly. I mean, we went from so many campgrounds of we want to be in 1,000 Trails for a couple weeks, and then we want to be out just because the amenities are different. So. Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of the breakdown of what our camping pass looks like compared to the lifetime membership. Again, it's confusing. It changes every once in a while. The best place to get the information is really to call a sales rep to find the current specials, the current prices. We're not getting any kickbacks from this. We're not affiliated with any specific sales rep. I mean, we could recommend who we used, but this is just us giving our opinion and our thoughts on it. But we're not getting any money from it.
That's the money.
Yep.
Let's talk about the good and the bad of Thousand Trails.
Yeah. Well, first, let's start with some stats. So we already told you we did 153 nights, which made it only $5.65 a night, which is awesome. We stayed in a total of 19 parks. So 12 months of a membership, 19 parks. We only paid extra for one park. So there are a few parks, particularly in California, that based on the location or just the type of park that it is, it's usually an encore.
Yes.
You pay $20 a night in addition to what you've been paying for your membership. And we did that once for one park. So, yeah.
So we paid an extra $80 for the 4 nights that we stayed there.
Yeah, which...
that was an amazing campground.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so let's tell them about the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And then we'll tell you about some of our favorite parks as well.
So the main good about Thousand Trails is the price. I mean,
Absolutely.
you really, for what we paid, you really couldn't do any better spending $5.65 a night for camping. We honestly could have stayed more at more Thousand Trails campgrounds and saved even more money. It's just sometimes you don't want to be at a Thousand Trails campground. There's other places you want to be, and they're not everywhere. Then meeting and connecting with full-time families. This is, if you're on the road and you're a family and you want to meet other families who are traveling full-time, Thousand Trails memberships is the best way to do that. Out of the 19 campgrounds that we stayed at,
we counted up, and 12 of the campgrounds we met and connected with other full-time families.
And some of those campgrounds, there were multiple full-time families there, like 3 to 4 full-time families. Like we had Christmas in San Diego. There were multiple families there, just being able to celebrate Christmas with other families. We were in Las Vegas, and there was like 5 to 6 families in Las Vegas.
So we got together during the week. Yeah,
Thousand Trails Orlando.
Everyone's there.
Dozens,
in winter.
dozens of full-time families.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something we heard when we were asking other families about should we purchase a membership. That's one of the main things they said too. If you want to meet other families, that's the place to meet them, because other parks are typically full of retirees throughout the year. I mean, during summer you get
weekenders.
During the summer you get kids around, but a lot of times they're with their own families. They're maybe not looking to connect as much as we're looking to connect. So connecting with full-time families is an incredible perk.
And then the amenities amenities of the Thousand Trails campgrounds, you typically, or most of the time, get you get a pool, you get a mini golf course, you get basketball, tennis course, game rooms.
Yeah.
A lot of amenities to choose from. That on the weekends, there's typically activities for the kids, depending on how big the park is.
Yeah, and time of year.
Yeah, and so there's typically something to do. The park has activities, or else you can just make your own fun with all the amenities that they have to offer.
A lot of them have when we say game rooms, some are like arcade rooms, but a lot of them have games where you can go check out games or check out puzzles and take them back to your RV, or we've done that a few times, just sat in the lobby and played games with our family. So for families, again, those are great perks to have. And
then you get full hookups. Again, not all the time. There are specific parks that don't have full hookups
at every site. Yeah.
But for the most part, you get full hookups, which you don't always get when you go to a state park or even some smaller campgrounds. So that's nice as well. You can simply know, hey, I'm booking 1,000 Trails, and then unless it's noted otherwise, you're going to be getting full hookups, water, sewer, electric.
Yeah, I think we only had one where we had water, electric only, and we were only there for a couple days. It was only a 4-night stay, so it ended up being fine for us.
So moving over to the bad.
And when we say the bad, we say the bad, because it's really it's maybe the worst parts of it, but it's not that terrible. It's not the best part. Yeah, it's not that terrible. It wasn't none of these things were deal breakers for us. It's just the least pleasant parts of it.
Most of the parks have a first come, first served policy, which means they don't take specific reservations for specific site numbers, which means you don't know where you're going to end up when you show up at the campground. A lot of them allow you simply to drive around the campground, find an open spot, claim it as your own, and then you take back your little sheet of paper and let them know which site you're in. Other ones, they let you ride around in a little golf cart beforehand, so you don't have to drive your rig around, which is kind of nice. But then again, it's you kind of get, I don't know, like...
Yeah, it wasn't our favorite thing. You know, after a long travel day, you're coming into a park you've never been to before, which was the case for us. I mean, if you're in Thousand Trails often and you're familiar with the parks and you're like, oh, I know that loop I really love, and, you know, you kind of shoot for that area. But if you've never seen a park before, you got to drive through every loop and take a look at what's around. And, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. You can pick one that's maybe larger or doesn't have a lot of rigs around you or near the playground or...
But Rachel's the eternal planner, so showing up to something with no plan is hard for her. Just knowing, hey, we're going to be in site number 3 before we even get there, it helps for her.
Yeah,
but that's mostly a personal thing. Yeah. So for you, that might not be really an issue.
You might love driving around, and it might be easy for you to drive your rig through. I mean, it's just different.
The next thing on the list is how well the parks are actually kept up, especially when you consider being at a park during off-season or off-peak season. We got to a lot of the parks on the East Coast and even through like the Midwest.
Yeah, they weren't ready for summer. They were digging up their pools or doing a lot of construction, and
just because the parks weren't full and busy, they weren't fully staffed. So, you know, bathrooms not being cleaned, things just out of disrepair, like showing up in plugs for the RV not working and telling us to go to another site, things like that. I mean, you do run into that at other campgrounds as well. But we seem to notice that a lot more at Thousand Trails. Yeah,
or just the amenities themselves were run down. Like they haven't been, like the mini golf hasn't been repaired in ages, or the bathhouses could really use an update, or it was just kind of hit or miss. I mean, we hit some parks that had amazing, brand new everything, or, you know, this bathroom was remodeled, so go to that one and not that one over there. So it was just hit or miss. You take what you get. When we're paying $5 a night, I mean, I guess we'll take a bathhouse that's not in tip-top shape, right?
You can't be too picky at that price point. The other one is being outside or far away from major attractions. Thousand Trails will always advertise, hey, we have a park in this area. Like, we have one in Charlotte. And then you go look it up, and it is 85 miles away from Charlotte. And you have to do your research before you actually jump into it to see if it's actually close to what you're looking to go see and visit. They do have a lot of parks within an hour.
I would say the majority are
an hour and 20 minutes away from a major attraction. But you do have to do your research to see actually how close it is, because we showed up at a couple. We're like, I thought this was closer, and then we start driving to the attraction. I'm like, man, this is we should have booked somewhere else, because we were under the impression that it was closer than it actually was.
So then we started looking, and there are a few that are close. Like Vegas is right there in the middle of it. Williamsburg, Cape Cod is very close to Cape Cod, but we also wanted to visit Boston, which is an hour.
They do have one in San Francisco. You do have to pay extra nightly fee for that one if you can get in, because that's a tough one to get into.
So for us, we love exploring the cities. Like, yes, we like to, you know, relax and be in nature and go on hikes and all of that, but we were traveling the U.S. to see a lot of the cities and historical things, and so driving into the cities while we were paying very little to stay in the campground.
You spend a lot of time in the car getting to and from the attractions.
And you're paying for gas to drive to the attractions. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. You've got to decide what works for you.
And then they're simply RV parks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer for us.
Yeah.
We really enjoy being out in nature. Any chance we get to book a state park that's close to an attraction that we want to be at.
State parks are the best.
State parks, and
even the little regional parks, like a county park or a little regional
city park,
those have been great too.
They just have a different feel to them.
Totally
you
different.
Feel like you're actually out camping rather than being in this massive RV development with hundreds, if not thousands, of other RVs, depending on the campground, the Thousand Trails campground that you're going to.
Right. I mean, so it's a trade-off. You have amenities and full hookups within Thousand Trails and most RV parks.
Yep.
But you're closer together, and it's just a different feel. And for us, we found that we enjoy the state parks and the more open feel. There were some times when we'd been in Thousand Trails for a while, and then we'd go to a state park, and I'm like,
we can finally relax.
I can breathe. Like I can't reach out and touch my neighbor, and which is not the case at all the other trails. But there's just something about state
it has
parks
a different feel
that
to
we
it.
love.
Yeah. So those are the bad.
Yeah, but and again, they're not deal breakers. They're our least favorite things, but yeah.
We learned to live with them. As
Yeah.
we said, we spent over 150 nights in Thousand Trails within a year, so
we're fine.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, I think we're wrap that up.
Yeah, and
I think the next thing we're going to talk about is our favorite and least favorite.
Yeah, let's start with the bad first, and then we'll end with the good.
Okay.
Let's do that. So least favorite parks. Really, there's only one that we would say to
Don't
people,
go
do
there.
not go there, and that was.
And yet we heard reviews from other people who had stayed that
they
didn't
were fine.
have a bad time, but we
Someone
stayed.
recently stayed at this one, and I was like, "Oh no, you didn't know." Yeah, it's St. Clair was the name of the
In
St.
Michigan.
Clair Thousand Trails Encore. I'm not sure which one. It's in Michigan. So we came from Toronto and we cut back into the U.S. right there by Detroit, and it was smaller. It wasn't a huge park. The pool was all in a bunch of rubble. It was the middle of summer.
It was July,
Yeah.
and the pool was supposed to be renovated and opened for the summer back in June, and at this point
there
it
was
was
no-
July.
yeah.
And the pool was still weeks away from being finished,
Yeah.
which means there was practically no amenities for the children. They actually had a mini golf course, too, that was
It was a
complete
mess.
disrepair that the girls didn't even want to go play
but
on.
the worst. Those were the worst bathhouses we have seen. I mean, I don't know how many campgrounds we've stayed in 16 months. The worst bathrooms ever. And the bathrooms were separate from the showers, which sometimes is the case. Is the case. It's not an all-in-one building. And there was a sign on the door that said, "You don't shower in a toilet. Don't poop in our bathrooms."
Which means they've had issues.
That means that's been
with
a
people
problem.
doing that.
And they were just dark and
They were dark and dingy.
and creepy and
And the cherry on top was the power went out 2 to 3 times while we were there.
yeah.
And and it was hot, and so we couldn't
Yeah.
run our air conditioner. And I actually was in the bathhouse taking a shower in their dark and dingy
There's no
shower
windows
house,
in there.
and the power goes out while I'm in
windows.
the shower, like completely dark. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
At least you had your phone in there with you. You had a
Well,
flashlight
but,
to shine a
yeah,
but from the not in the water and
I survived. I wasn't murdered, but that was by far our least favorite Thousand
of all
Trails park.
campgrounds we've ever been to,
Yeah.
that was our least favorite. So that's
So,
that one.
moving on from that,
The other
next
ones,
one-
though, I mean, I would say they're at the bottom of our list, but they're not terrible.
And we
honestly.
would actually go back to these
would go
ones
back
too.
again.
So Pio Pico in San Diego.
Yeah, it's outside of San Diego.
Again, 45 minutes from San
It wasn't
Diego.
too bad. Like that was one of the closer ones, actually. Yep.
But that one there, the worst part about it is really, really bad cell phone reception, and which forces you to
incredibly
purchase their Wi-Fi pass, which is then also really, really bad.
And it's the way it sits in the hills is a big part of it. Yeah.
But then the park is also kind of strange because it's situated on both sides of the road. One side of the road has sewer hookups, and then the other side of the road does not. So when people come in, because the one side with hookups
it fills
is
up.
typically
That's what people
full,
want.
they put you in a temporary holding zone for a day or two
On the non-sewer side.
on the non-sewer side before they transfer you over to the other one.
And it's a lottery system. You come over in the morning and they've got your number in order and you go around and you see what sites are available and then they call, it's like an auction and they're calling out, which I want that one. And it's weird.
We were actually extremely lucky.
so
We
lucky.
pulled in and they said, we have 2 sewer sites available. Do you know how this
Yeah.
park works? And we're like, we'll take whatever.
Yeah, and we did
just
take
didn't
a
wanna
spot
move
that we
couple
did
days.
it. It took us a while to get into. We had a hard time getting into. It was at an odd angle next to a cabin, and then it flooded
On Christmas Day, it
was
rained all day long, and we literally had a river
Yeah.
flowing through. But that's once in a lifetime because it never actually rains
Right,
in San Diego.
yeah,
so.
Southern California. So that was an odd thing, but.
And then the next one.
Yeah, well, I will say, so that one, I mean, even though those things were bad, we were with a ton of other families at Christmas time,
Yes.
and so we had a great time despite the things that we didn't love about the park.
They had a great heated pool.
Oh, yeah, the pool was awesome.
It was awesome.
There. Yeah,
Yeah.
Santa came for the kids. And
Apparently the restaurant that's there, people from the area come into the restaurant that's at the
we did
campground.
totally.
I did work in the main lobby area, whatever, and people coming in for lunch, coming in for dinner, stuff like that. So people love it, but it's not the best
It
in
wasn't
certain
our favorite.
situations.
Yeah.
The next one, Soledad Canyon.
Soledad Canyon. Yeah, that one, again, we were there in the off season on that one, and a whole section of the park was completely shut down. So we actually had to enter our loop in a different entrance. You could only have internet cell signal in the section that we were in. The rest of the park, there was nothing. It was totally dead zone. It was kind of a ghost town and run down as well. Maybe that's just because it was the off season, or maybe, I don't know. I just didn't like the feel of that one. But again, I mean, it was fine. I think that was a 4-night stay or something shorter, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
And then we have one last one, and this one's only an honorable mention on the least favorite list because we actually didn't have any issues with it. Las Vegas.
So many people talk about it. It's got a bad reputation.
It has a bad reputation. It is extremely tight. Like, literally one night there was a family that was coming in, and I helped them, and two other people helped them try to back into their site. It was after dark, and literally it took us 45 minutes to help them get into the site.
Right, because
that's how tight things are.
Yeah, it was really,
and it's also not in the best neighborhood, but the flip side of that is it's actually only a
city.
15, maybe even a 10-minute drive to the Las Vegas Strip. And so being able to stay in Las Vegas for free when hotels cost hundreds of dollars.
Right.
We were actually there during the Consumer Electronics Show for work for me, which means instead of spending a night in a hotel like I typically do, I got to sleep in my own bed, which was amazing. So,
and the pool was heated there, and I mean, while it was a small, tight park, one bathhouse was super nice. So
the other one was not.
And the other one was not. It has it gets a bad rap, but we didn't mind it at all.
We didn't mind it at all.
It was fine. And we had lots of other families there with us again, so that makes it better too. All right, the best parks are our most favorite ones. So we had a hard time narrowing it down, which is funny. Our absolute favorite was Pacific Dunes. And that one, it was near San Luis Obispo in California. And we did pay $20 a night to stay at that one. And it didn't have a pool. It didn't have a playground even.
They have horseback riding.
Yeah, they do offer horseback riding for a fee.
But literally the campground is right up against the sand dunes.
So
like
from
our campsite, we walked 30 seconds to the sand dunes and watched these amazing sunsets over the dunes.
And that was the playground.
Over to the ocean.
We took sleds and went out, and the girls played out there. So I mean, they don't have a normal playground, but that was incredible. And just a short drive to the beach. I mean, technically you could walk over the dunes to the beach, but it's quite a walk.
It's about a mile,
and it's
over the dunes.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
Yeah. But it was close to the town. It was incredible. That's our favorite one. Second favorite,
Thousand Trails Orlando. Not because the park is amazing. It does have decent amenities. It is a massive RV park. But the main thing there is you are around dozens of full-time families. There are kids aplenty for your children to play with. 2
pools. Lots of activities and crafts in the activity center and events, and so that one for the families and the amenities, absolutely. The third one on our list is Lake Conroe, which is in Texas, and that one is on our list because they had just remodeled everything. Like, I don't know about the pool, it was too cold for us to swim. But the laundry, the bathhouses, the game room, like everything had been newly remodeled and was in incredible shape. Now the roads weren't. The roads were pretty.
And the sites were a bit unlevel in certain areas.
Yeah, but this one makes the list because the amenities there, and there was a park too with a lot of wide open spaces for kids to run around and play. So.
And it's also one of the larger parks in Texas, so that means during the winter months there are a handful of full-time families. While we were there,
there were potlucks while we were there. Some
did a potluck. There was like 8 to 10
Yeah.
full-time families that were there, so that was nice. Neshonoc Lakes.
Yeah, that one was in Wisconsin. Big grassy sites. That was one of our favorites. And then also Hershey. That one was big and open and just that was
nestled in the farmland. The pool area was massive. We were actually there before the pool opened, so we didn't get to take advantage of it. But we got to look at all of its glory as they were trying to prep it for the summer
That's
season.
the thing. We hit the East Coast where there are a ton of Thousand Trails parks before all the pools were open. Plan differently than we did. Once we got out west, there's no Thousand Trails.
So that's our list of our favorite parks.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our final thoughts. And
is it worth it?
Was it worth it? I would say A resounding yes.
Yes.
If you
Absolutely.
are traveling full-time, especially if you are a family and have
Yes.
children, Thousand Trails membership is definitely worth it. Especially for us doing just the year-long membership.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in doing the full lifetime membership and committing to that with that upfront cost, even just doing what, $850-ish for what we got.
And that for us was with all zones. If you're not going to hit, I mean, that's because we made a full loop. We actually didn't use the Pacific Northwest zone. That's one
we
zone.
We
could have saved 50 bucks. Yeah. So if you want to buy all zones, or I think at least when we purchased, you could swap out a zone once per year. So you could buy 3 and then swap or something. But it's a great deal. Again, I mean, we camped a lot in the Thousand Trail system, 153 nights. So it made it totally more than worth it cost-wise. We connected with families. Absolutely.
Yeah, and even if you only decided to camp 70 nights or even 50 nights out of Thousand Trails,
still cheaper than you would pay somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, people think camping is cheap, but once you start staying at campgrounds that do have full hookups, you're typically spending at a minimum $20 a night.
No, that's really low.
If not a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But like at the lowest end, I mean, I think we found one campground that was like $19 a night, and it was forgettable at best.
Yeah.
So even just staying 30 nights out of the year, definitely worth it. If you're staying anything over 30, your money is well spent.
Yep. And if you, our advice would be try the year with a camping pass and see how you like it. And then if you feel like, absolutely, we're going to continue traveling and we want to stay longer within the parks and go park to park, then the lifetime membership is the way to go for you. Absolutely. But this is a good way. It was a good way for us to test it. And it's what worked for us.
So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any tips, recommendations, questions, anything about Thousand Trails, the different memberships, the campgrounds themselves, as we said, we only stayed at 19. There are a lot more, but we've heard recommendations from others.
Yep.
Feel free to jump into the comments and share your questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. We'd love to answer any of them as best we can.
Yeah, we do have a video that we put out when we stayed, I think, at 3 or 4 parks in the beginning that talks specifically about those. So we'll link to that for you. Check out the blog post about the different levels of memberships. But yeah, if you have questions, let us know. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
And we'll catch you guys on the road.
That's it. See ya.
Bye, guys.